With that, we'll move to item number 17, Humboldt County Elk Species Management Planning Process. Game Division Administrator Brian Wakeling for possible action. The Commission will begin the elk sub-planning process in accordance with the Nevada Elk Species Management Plan for Humboldt County, and the Commission may begin to form and solicit nominations for a steering committee. Mr. Wakeling.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brian Wakeling, Game Chief. The Commission was apprised on February 7th at their last Commission meeting during the Director's Department Activity Report that the Department has initiated planning for elk populations within Humboldt County. We have some populations. There are some elk sightings that have been going on for a few years. And so there's a process, again, like in most of our activities with government, we're pretty good at developing processes, and we've got a process in place to develop a sub-plan specifically for this subpopulation. There is a planning process. It was adopted by the Commission on February 11th in 2006, and that process is included in the support material that was sent out. And I'll just go over it real briefly. It includes 8 steps, and they're lettered A through H. And real briefly, that the Director notifies the Commission of the need for a plan. That's followed up, step B, with the Commission appointing a sub-planning committee chairman, and this is supposed to occur within 3 months of the apprisal of the need for the plan. At the same time, the Commission invites participation from a large list of groups, and that list of groups, about 20 in number, appears on that planning process as well. Then the Commission appoints a steering committee from the list of volunteers that have offered to serve on that committee, and any assigned agency personnel as well. The planning meetings are initiated in the community closest to that elk sub-plan. Step E is the steering committee appoints a technical review team. That technical review team is comprised of natural resource professionals from NDOW, any other land management agencies, affected tribes. Within 6 months of the first meeting, this committee will distribute a first draft for review. That review will go to the Commission. It'll go to the Director for posting on the Nevada Department of Wildlife website. And it will also have 2 scheduled public meetings in Reno and Las Vegas where other comments are solicited for the technical review team's consideration. G, the progress continues to be monitored on the planning process, and the planning team ensures that the process is running smoothly. And finally, H is it's submitted for approval in accordance with the Elk Species Management Plan. Now, currently, because we're aware this elk population is growing, we know that there's concerns with growing elk populations, and they can be challenging to kind of limit once they start to grow. We've already got a substantial head start on drafting the straw dog that the technical review team, the steering committee, can use for that. The Commission has already authorized a season for this population that should occur next fall. We have not recommended permits yet. That will be addressed next Commission meeting. However, in the terms of the planning process, we are today ready to initiate step B. That's the step that we're at, which is the naming of sub-planning committee chairman for the Humboldt County elk population, and then to extend an invitation of various groups that may wish to have a voice at the planning table.
Okay. Just to add on, well, before we go to that, were there any questions of Mr. Wakeling or of the process that's provided in the attached material? Okay. Seeing none, I have had the opportunity to visit with some folks out of Humboldt County. I did approach chair of their county advisory board, Tom Castanelli, to see if he would have a desire in helping to serve as the steering committee chairperson. He did not indicate a desire to do that based on some personal time commitments and some fear that he may be slanted too far one way or the other within the process. However, he did provide me with several names of folks to reach out to in Humboldt County and made a commitment to me to look for some names. I had a list of about 5 or 6 different names that I vetted through several of the county commissioners, one with kind of a range, ag background, one with more of a wildlife background. Mr. Casanelli, I reached out to him, he reached out to the county administrator, and we were able to identify a gentleman that everyone in the county seemed to be, or at least the folks we talked to, seemed to be very comfortable with. That gentleman is Eddie Booth. Mr. Booth served as the administrator of the Humboldt County School District for quite some time. He's comfortable running public meetings. I contacted Mr. Booth. Not only was he willing to serve as chair of this committee, he was also excited about the opportunity and indicated that he had time to lead the effort. So he was willing and able, I would say, to do it. Again, the folks I talked to, the 2 county commissioners, Tom Casanelli and through Tom, the county administrator, were all very supportive of Mr. Booth. And so I guess my recommendation going forward would be that today that the commission consider Eddie Booth for appointment as chair of that steering process, and also provide direction to the department to solicit volunteers for the steering committee in coordination with both myself and the committee chairman moving forward. So those are my thoughts on where we're at today and where I think we need to be going, but I'll be interested to hear the commission's thoughts and any public comment on that. Any commission questions or comments at this time? Okay. Hearing none, what we'll do is open up item number 17, the Humboldt County Elk Species Management Planning Process, to any public comment.
No comment in Las Vegas.
Okay. Any in Elko?
No comment from Elko, thank you.
Okay. Any in Reno? Seeing, okay, and Sean, while you come up, just one other comment. I did get see something in the White Pine County minutes that was asking if there was any impact in terms of the Humboldt County effort on White Pine County, and there will not be. It will be specific to Humboldt County, so maybe that message can get back through White Pine County, and so everyone's clear on that. It'll be specific to Humboldt County. Sean, come on up.
Sean Shea, Washington Cap. I just want to say that this carried unanimous in us, but we did have one concern is, and we know it's just the beginning for the Humboldt County, but we really want to see the whole western region for elk plan, and just to get ahead of the game while things are going, let's do it because they're coming. So that was just one of our concerns.
Additional public comment, Reno? And Mr. Shea, I completely understand your point of view. I think Humboldt County has the people ready to go, the animals, and my suggestion to the department is that we get Humboldt County going and moving forward with an eye towards looking broader on the western region. But I don't want to slow down Humboldt County at this point because they have the animals and people ready to go. So that's kind of my position on it, but I completely understand where you guys are coming from. Any additional public comment? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission. Any further question or discussion at this time? Mr. Wakeman, any further comment? Okay. If not, I would entertain a motion. Or if you'd be more comfortable, I'll make this one.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that this commission appoint Eddie Booth to serve as the chairman of the steering committee for the Humboldt County Elk Species Management Planning Process, or steering committee, I guess.
Second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to nominate Eddie Booth as the chair of the Humboldt County Steering Committee. Let's take that motion in itself, and then maybe we can provide the department some direction in a separate motion. Any discussion or question on the motion at hand? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. I can contact Mr. Booth on that. And I would entertain a second motion to direct the department. Actually, I'll just make the motion to make this easy. So I would move that we direct the department to begin soliciting volunteers for the steering committee in coordination with myself and chair of the steering committee per this guidance.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to direct the department to solicit volunteers for the steering committee, in coordination with the two chairs. Any question or discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 6-0. With that, anything else, Brian, on item
Nothing
17? Okay, thank you, sir. We'll move to agenda item number 18, elk depredation damage claim, Game Division Administrator Brian Wakeling for possible action. In accordance with NAC 504.431, the department has the authorization to compensate landowners for a damage claim when submitted in compliance with this rule. A claim has been submitted and investigated by the department, but this same NAC limits the department for approving any claim for greater than $10,000. John Grady has submitted an elk depredation claim for $13,720. The commission will consider authorizing this claim. Mr. Wakeling.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Brian Wakeling, Game Chief. Elk depredation and damage claims are administered in accordance with NRS 504165 and a variety of NAC. Pursuant to those regulations, the department has the authority to settle financial damage claims for amounts of less than $10,000. If we wish to exceed that amount with any claim, that has to be brought before the commission. On January 15th of this year, the department received a claim that was mutually negotiated and agreed upon by John Grady and the Eastern Region of the Game Division of the department. His property is located in Hunt Unit 121. The agreement was executed by John Grady and the regional staff on January 28th. Because the agreed amount is $13,720, it is the authority of the commission for any authorization of claim. Mr. Grady has worked with the department on elk damage in the past. He's provided prior reports of damage caused by elk in years 2007, 2012, and 2013. In response, the department has facilitated an emergency depredation hunt in 2012, implemented 2 antlerless depredation hunts in 2013, and increased that number yet again for 4 antlerless depredation hunts in 2014. In 2013, the department authorized a $5,810 claim for alfalfa damage on Mr. Grady's property. The recent damage was caused by about 60 elk and involved damage to a standing crop that occurred on about just under 2,000 acres. The commission has authorized 4 antlerless depredation hunts for next year as well. There are sufficient financial resources in the elk damage mitigation account to pay for this funding of this damage claim. To date, just over $44,000 have been paid from the account, and we have the authority to go up to $200,000 in there. And so this does not place any other claims in jeopardy. We do have regional staff here today in case there's any specific questions regarding this claim.
Wakefield, the only question I have, what other additional resources could we throw at this to prevent this claim besides the depredation? Is there anything in your view?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Young, we have had a variety of elk emergency hunts that we've used in the past. This is in an area where we are trying to actually actively reduce the elk population, and so it's our belief that the things that we're putting in place are actually going to start addressing some of these challenges. And Mr. Ken Gray is also here, the supervising game biologist for the area. He can speak to it more directly.
Ken, while you come up, I kind of had a question that you could probably address all in one shot here, but I'm looking at the estimate they had, I'm assuming to take care of some of the damage, and it's specific to native plant seedings and things of that nature, so maybe you can address kind of the quote and what the plan is, because I'm not clear if it's crop damage or some of these other trees and shrubs.
Okay. Yeah, Ken Gray, Eastern Region Supervisor, Wildlife. This is a little bit of a unique situation in that the claim that Mr. Wakeling talked about prior to that was alfalfa. This year's it was specific to 6,000 trees that he planted for wind stripping and aesthetic views. Out of the 6,000 trees planted, about 350 were heavily depredated by elk. Just for your guys' information, if you guys have elk running around your neighborhoods, you might not want to plant hawthorn, chokecherry, or juniper. Those were the trees that, that they totally selected. The mitigation from the standpoint, like Mr. Wakeling claimed, we've almost have eliminated that elk herd within Steptoe Valley through our depredation hunts. Towards the end of the hunt, we had very few elk coming into it. It was only about 6 elk that were actually coming in and eating those trees. So the claimant has stated that he will not plant the trees that were depredated on. He's also going to enroll for the antlerless elk landowner tag, so we'll be ready to go. Should elk show up on his property, we can address it rapidly. This would also be a situation where we might use department removal if the elk are coming in at night, and it's a small amount. We might just the agency itself might go ahead and remove the elk, which we haven't done for decades. He's been totally cooperative in working with us, and we feel that this is a very legitimate claim.
Okay, so just so I understand, the quote that he got is kind of for in-kind replacement, but he's planning on actually planting something else.
He's going to use the money to replace the trees that were depredated on.
Any other questions or discussion by the commission? Okay, seeing none, I'll open it up. Any county advisory board input on item 18?
Sean Shea, Washington County. We went ahead and we thought it should be approved for that whole thing. We just brought up one thing, actually, you had brought up, that's on this elk depredation loss report, that it was a little misleading when I started reading this thing, when it said standing crop, and then all of a sudden I saw he wanted native plants. So I don't know if that should be, something should be changed on that, so it's a little clearer for people when they read it, because it threw a flag up to me when I started reading that. Like, when it says check all that apply, all it was standing crop was applied. So maybe there should be something there other than standing crop. I wasn't thinking, I thought alfalfa, and then I read that he wanted natural, native things, and then a flag went up. So maybe something else should be clarified in there, just so if it ever comes back up, people go, oh, okay, he got windrow damage, native stuff damage. So.
Thank you. Any other county advisory board comment? Public comment in Reno? Public comment in Las Vegas?
No, thank you, Chairman.
Public comment in Elkhorn, item 18?
No, thank you.
Okay. I'll bring it back to the commission, and I would echo that. I think, I kind of surmised what was going on when I read the proposal here, but maybe, where we say number of acres involved, if it is something unique like this, we can just indicate in the future whether it's alfalfa or plants or trees or whatever the case may be. That's an easy suggestion going forward. Any other discussion or question by the commission? If not, I would entertain a motion on item 18.
I would move, Mr. Chairman, that we approve the elk depredation damage claim in the amount of $15,720 to John Grady.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to authorize the claim by John Grady in the amount of $13,720 as presented to us today. Any question or discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 6-0. And with that, we will move to item number 19. This is the draft process for use by the commission in arbitration as described in NEC 502.42283 and Division Administrator Brian Wakeling for possible action. The commission will review a proposed process of arbitration as described in the proposed amendment to NAC 502.42283 arbitration panel that will outline the responsibilities of the department and landowner, applicant when contesting issues associated with the award of special incentive elk tags, the establishment of a subcommittee to hear the contest, timelines associated with the contest and decision, and recommendations to the commission as decision-making arbitration panel. The commission may provide the department with direction on further revisions or approve the draft process pending adoption of temporary regulation CGR 456 regarding NAC 502.42283, which I'll remind everyone that we workshopped yesterday. So with that, Mr. Wakeling.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Brian Wakeling, Game Chief. Yesterday, the commission heard in workshop a temporary NEC proposed under agenda item 10B, CGR 456 T15. This temporary NEC is designed to address the regulation regarding the arbitration process associated with awarding of elk incentive tags and any disputes associated with them. Because of the temporary NEC as a result of discussions held through 3 previous commission meetings as noted yesterday, August, September, November, the commission asked the department to draft a process for the commission's consideration should the temporary NEC be adopted. That request was placed in November, and it was asked that it come back at this commission meeting. During yesterday's workshop on the temporary NEC, Commissioner Johnson noted that the temporary NEC provided for a binding decision by any committee appointed by the commission. The binding nature of a committee decision is inconsistent with the original draft of this process that I had provided. I took the liberty last evening to go ahead and draft some alternative language, and I believe we have that available. We can pull that up on the screen. And what I've provided each of the commissioners with is a copy of the original wording as originally drafted, with the only difference being that it's double spaced. So that gives you a little room to kind of scratch in between the lines and do some editing. I also provided a copy of the edits that I took the liberty to add, and that's all on track changes, so it's highlighted and you can see specifically what the changes are there. Briefly, this process identifies the timeline and responsibilities for any request for arbitration. The committee or any designated, the commission or any designated committee may serve as an arbitration panel. The timeline ensures that the decision will be rendered by the end of the June commission meeting or June of during any given year. Also identifies that the arbitration process will be identified on any cooperative agreements that we have from this point forward. Effectively, that will be calendar year 2016.
Questions for Mr. Wakeling? I guess I have one. I'll start. Brian, I know we have at least one potential arbitration issue pending this year. We will, our hope is to get NAC 502.42283 passed at our next commission meeting, or at least have that discussion. I'm a little reluctant to finalize the process until that's done. Is there any reason we can't put both the NAC for approval and the updated arbitration process on the next, which would be May, I guess, commission meeting, and still be timely in responding to the claim?
Mr. Chairman, I believe that would be adequate in order to get an opportunity for to address that claim. The one concern that I've kind of been thinking about is if at that point it may be difficult to have a committee. The commission may need to serve as the arbitration panel under this particular one, simply because of the timing and the effectiveness of when the NAC would become effective.
Yeah, and that's clearly understood, I think, by this body, and for the first one, that may not be necessarily a bad thing. So, additional questions or comments at this point, either on the process as outlined or discussed?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Under number 5, the way that's written there, Chairman of the Commission may choose to have a committee of commissioners review the contest or choose to have the commission serve as the arbitration panel. So the way I'm reading that, whether it's a full commission or if it's a committee, it's still going to be made up of commissioners only.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Moore, the way this is drafted, that is correct.
And I think there was discussion yesterday as to the, for us to, when we looked at this process, to potentially incorporate some local inputs, and at the same time, I know we've had some challenges with that. So I don't know if it's the flavor of the commission to maybe add potentially one spot for a county advisory board member or something like that to give us the flexibility if down the road we want to include someone like that on the panel, if we don't just simply handle them as as a body and commission.
I would agree with that, Mr. Chairman, and particularly somebody with agricultural experience that understands those type of issues
From the
very well
county.
from that particular county. We should at least attempt.
I would just suggest we don't put an even number on any committee.
Okay.
I also have some comments on the proposal, the revised proposal.
Go ahead, Commissioner Johnson.
On this proposal, if I'm looking at section 5A, the chairman chooses to have a committee review the contest. It talks about the composition of benefit. The commission chair designate one member as the chair of this committee. And then the following sentence says, this committee may review, excuse me, battling cold. This committee may review the information provided via email, discuss telephonically, or meet in person to determine if an amended award is warranted. The elk incentive tag applicant. I think that sentence should be struck. I think one of the things that we have talked about is making sure that any arbitration hearing on these tag awards is public. So I would strike that sentence and use the language that the committee chair will notice a public meeting at which the committee shall review the information provided, period. Both the department and applicant will have an opportunity to present details of their investigation and rationale for disputing the award. I would then revise the language further to say, the committee shall issue a decision on the number of tags to be awarded, and the committee's decision will be binding. And I can provide this markup if the commission agrees to that.
I think I would be comfortable, comfortable doing that. I think part of the reason of bringing it back to the commission was to make sure it was part of an open meeting process. So I don't have a concern with that. And I guess the other thing I would ask the commission to consider as we go out to public comment here is at the end of sub A, where it spells out the 3 members of that panel, that it says representatives from the commission or local cap. So it gives us the option if we want to incorporate some local folks down the road, we can do that. It just provides a little more flexibility. I think if we provide the department some direction, they can make those updates. And this will go back out through the process and we can have some further discussion and get this hopefully approved in May.
Mr. Chairman, if I might speak to the point that Commissioner Johnston brought up. Historically, what this process has been used to do is determine whether or not the department followed the NAC, and with your language, you are intending to provide the authority to this committee to determine the number of tags, or to determine if the department followed the process, verify the department's determination, or to provide the authority to that subcommittee to determine the number of tags.
I thought it was to entertain the dispute, the arbitration demand from the landowner. And then once that hearing is concluded, that committee or this commission would determine the number of tags to be issued.
Yeah, I don't know if that committee wants or should have that authority to determine the number of tags. I think that the way that it's been utilized historically is to determine if the process followed and the number of tags determined through that process is warranted, or if that process wasn't followed. I don't know. It might warrant some further discussion.
Let's say whether it's the current arbitration panel or this commission or some committee, if they were to make a determination that the department didn't follow the appropriate process in determining the number of tags, and that number was therefore in error, it seems more makes sense to have that number adjusted at that point in time as part of the arbitration decision.
Correct.
So I guess I'm not saying the panel determines the number of tags, but, you would consider whether or not the department was correct or incorrect in the number of tags awarded, and if it was determined they were incorrect, to make the appropriate adjustment to the number based upon the evidence presented.
Yeah, and I guess the only reason I bring that up, and Ken Gray might be able to speak to it more specifically, but we have had an arbitration panel in the past that had made that determination of the number of tags absent of being able to specify how or why the department's determination was incorrect. And so, I think there's two processes there. One is the determination that the process was followed and is correct. The second is, does that warrant, does that result in additional tags? So I just, as far as the blanket statement that the committee shall determine the number of tags, could be more responsibility or more authority than that committee would wish to have going forward.
Understood. I think we could work some language in there to make sure, and I think this would apply to section 5B. Well, I guess the first step would be for both the committee and or the commission, who's ever sitting as the arbiter, shall review the information provided and determine whether or not the department's calculation of tags was an error. If the committee or commission makes that determination, then I guess they determine the number of tags to be awarded.
I think it would make sense to lay that out clearly, maybe even under A and B.
Yes, I agree. And I had comments to section B too, just to clear up some things. And so I think we could incorporate that into section 5B too, so that if this commission sitting as the panel, we follow the same process as the committee.
Any other comment or question at this point? Okay, seeing none, I'll take it out. County Advisory Board input on agenda item 19, arbitration process. Public comment in Reno. Public comment in Las Vegas.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Excuse me. This is Jana Wright. To be consistent with previous comments I've made during commission meetings, I don't think any commission committee should include members of the county advisory boards. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comment in Las Vegas?
No, thank you.
Elko?
No, thank you.
Any further comment in Reno? I'll bring it back to the commission for further discussion. If there's no further discussion, I guess I would entertain a motion, and perhaps that motion would include some direction to the department to work with either one or two of us to develop some further language. It could go back out to the CABs and come back before this body at the May meeting for approval.
What would you like the motion? I'll try to make a.
I'm willing to help with this as well, because I have some ideas.
I'd move that this commission direct the department to work with, I guess, Commissioner Johnston and Commissioner Drew to revise the arbitration process for applicants dissatisfied with elk incentive tag awards to address the following, that in section 5, if the chairman of the commission designates a committee to hear the arbitration, that the committee would be open not only to commission, Nevada Wildlife Commissioners, but also members of the local citizen advisory board. That in both sections A and B, the process will, one, be at a public meeting only. That two, whether it is the committee or the commission that's entertaining the arbitration, they shall review the information provided and first determine whether or not the department's award of elk tags was in error. If they reached that conclusion, based upon the information provided, they would then determine the number of tags to be issued. Certainly at any hearing consistent with the proposal, both the department and the applicant will have the opportunity to present details and evidence of their position. And that information will be considered by the commission or the committee for the arbitration. That the committee's decision, if the committee hears it, would be final and binding. Same with any decision of the commission. And that if any revised tag award is made, Section 6 will provide that the department would then issue that number of tags.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion or question on the motion? I guess just for clarification, that the intent would be that the draft language be put back out as support material and on our agenda for the May meeting.
Correct.
Make sure that's implicit. Okay. Any other discussion or questions on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 6-0. With that, I will call agenda item 19. And before we get into our reports, what I'll do is it's 9:40. Let's take a little bit of a break here. Let's come back at 10 o'clock and we'll start on agenda item number 10.